Good evening and welcome to the Upset Podcast. Tonight, we are talking about the fact that your pastor is not your therapist. Coming up next. Hey, welcome back to the Upset Podcast. We're so happy that you chose to spend part of your Sunday evening with us. And when I say us, guys, we have a full house today. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Sunday. Hi, happy Sunday. We're back live. We hope all the mothers had a great Mother's Day last Sunday, even though it seemed like it was weeks ago at this point. That's how it is with these
It seemed like a long time ago. Yeah.
Yes. That's like just a week ago. I was being treated like a queen.
I had to do a wedding on that day. It was very nice.
Oh, you did? Mm-hmm. Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it was a very nice gathering for the moms, seeing their children get married.
Awesome. So how was everyone's week?
It was an excellent week. It was busy, but an excellent week.
Glad to hear it, guys.
Come on, Keenan, smile. Man.
Yeah. I mean, well, we had Unity Day. We had Unity Day in Virginia, so that went great. I start off with the positive. That went absolutely great. GP.
Who's your preacher?
As well. Jason Ridley did a great job.
Okay.
So, we had a great time in Virginia there, Pastor Marlena. You have left us. But
I was taken, sir. I didn't leave. I was taken.
Okay. I'll let you tell the story.
The Bible says it, Keenan. One will be taken and the other one left.
That's right. Well, whatever story helps us sleep good at night. Whatever she got to tell us.
We will find you. We will find you.
And of course, my Knicks are losing right now, so it's a bittersweet.
Oh, so sorry.
I have mixed emotions about the Knicks losing. I am happy and I'm glad.
Wait, who are they playing right now?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
They could be losing to the Little Sisters of the Blind, and I would be disappointed.
This is New York, right?
Yeah. They go hard.
Well, this would be in your lane, Tally. I'm sure you would be close to this. I was happy to see that Mayor Parker took action in the Kensington area. There was I understand there were some downsides to it, but fortunately, she was able to get that action taken to get people off the streets. But it was more than what I liked about it. It was more than just clearing homeless off the street. She actually brought social services down to assist medical personnel to assist individuals that were obviously on drugs and things like that, and give them some social help. So, kudos to the mayor of Philadelphia.
For those who don't know what Chuck's talking about, in the city of Philadelphia, there's a street where an elevated train rides along called Kensington Avenue. And, it's typically very heavily shaded because train trestles go over it. But that avenue has become an absolute hellscape with people openly using drugs, living on the sidewalk. It is unbelievable. It looks like the scene from Michael Jackson's Thriller. I mean, the people look like they look like the living dead. And our new mayor, who is a woman for the first time in the city of Philadelphia, promised to make a difference. When I say an open drug market, it was so designed that you could get off the train and someone would meet you at the train stop, take you into a drug house, administer the drugs to you, and take you back to the train. They had concierge service.
What?
I mean, literally. And I'm not talking about, every once in a while, but this was ordinary and regular. And she brought in the full force of the Philadelphia government and absolutely cleaned that street out. We were with her this past week, Charles, for a press conference. Orville Brissett and I and our guys from the group Generation sang for her.
Yes.
And she has mastered the art of the symbol, doing symbolic things that's casting a larger shadow. And what she's trying to tell Philly is the day of lawlessness is over. And because she's a black woman, she can do things that a mayor who was a white male could not do. Because they would say he's insensitive, but she can do them, and she is doing them.
I mean, there were whole YouTube channels built, made on Kensington. I mean, there was a YouTube channel called Kensington, and all this guy would do was walk up and down the streets of Kensington and show the people that were on the sidewalks and sleeping on the ground. And obviously, you could see many of them were drug addicts. And some of the comments were, when I started following this YouTube channel, was, doesn't Philadelphia care? Why? How can the city of brotherly love allow this to happen? So forth and so on. I felt kind of bad at that because, you say you're a city of brotherly love, but then you let this go on, and there didn't seem to be any action from the city administration. But I was really happy to see that Mayor Parker took action, and that's a good thing. And I just hope it continues.
Yeah, and I just want to say, because my church frequents there every month. They
to
have
do ministry, right, Marlena?
I get the drugs myself, but I get the drugs and I distribute them. Yeah. We're there to do ministry, family. And they have a mission of compassion. And I like that because Councilman Kenyatta, right? That's his name.
Kenyatta Johnson.
My church, Kenyatta Johnson. He was at my church. And we had him, say a little something about the Kensington area. That's what he's over, and where we go to minister. And he said how, that they had a mission of compassion there for the people. They're not just cleaning, by throwing them any place, but you get real help, solid help. And even they did not tell us to stop, going down there to minister to the people. That's still open. And so I like that. And we were there this Saturday. Now, they might not be at the one section that they have the barricades. They kind of moved a little further down, right, and on the side streets. But they removed them from sleeping in tents on the sidewalk, so they can't have the tents. And so they're just lying on the sidewalks. And it's sad. I mean, we would go down there and you see all the needles on the ground. They shoot each other on the ears. And wherever they can find a vessel is where they will shoot right up in front of your face. It's really tough, but it has made a significant difference, but it's still a good amount out there. They're just on the secondary streets now.
Yeah. Bit by bit, hopefully. Oh, wow. Glad to see that, hear that. And hello, Kevin Jackson Sr. Thanks for joining us this evening. Glad that you are here with us. Glad that you are here. Anything else, guys, before we go into our topic? Anything else in the headlines that caught your attention that we just want to touch on?
Yeah, what? Bad, blonde.
How does it go? Bleach blonde, bad build, butch body was the expression.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It was shameful, but Pat, tell them what that's all about.
No, I won't.
Well,
I heard when she said something about her eyelashes.
Congresswoman
that set it off.
Yep.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia,
right,
who is an absolute disaster of an elected official. An absolute disaster. And in one of the committee meetings of Congress, insulted Congresswoman Crockett from Texas, an African American woman. Most people would consider her to be an attractive and stylish woman. She's a lawyer. And Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said, I believe you are not able to read because your fake eyelashes are getting in the way of what you're reading. And she said that, Chuck. And everybody just immediately reacted. Congresswoman Alexis Ocasio of New York demanded that the words be stricken from the record. it got really ugly, and they wanted to censure Marjorie Taylor Greene, who said, "I will not apologize because she's that way." And finally, Congresswoman Crockett said so, because you're not allowed to assail another a congressperson personally. They didn't censure her. And so Congresswoman Crockett of Texas said, so if I were to talk about another congresswoman's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, and it, you know,
Wow.
the congressman from Maryland actually laughed, but it turned into an all-out Donnybrook, and it was an embarrassment to our nation.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
That happened on Friday.
It happened on Friday, I believe.
Yeah, I was about to say, I watch the news every day. I never heard, but I don't watch it on Friday. So I got
bleach blonde, bad built butch body.
Yeah,
she's going on a run right there.
She went straight alliteration. All she needed was Oregon background.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
It was.
You know they're going to turn it into it by the time.
Oh yeah,
some type of.
It's already been. I mean, people have written songs about it.
Song.
Yeah,
like Sweet George. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? Remember that?
The thing is that our country has descended.
That's right.
Into very crude communications nowadays.
Yeah, we're so comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, the use the F word, which used to be like, you don't say that. It's almost like the national anthem now.
Oh yeah, that's the everyday word.
Yeah, I mean,
in professional settings.
In professional settings, and it's we've lost the ability to speak kindly towards one another, and that's a bad sign for a culture.
It sure is.
Absolutely.
I think I know I don't want to take any more, but I purposely did not follow this whole Diddy thing. But when I saw the video,
no Diddy.
Yeah, he did, and he finally admitted after saying it never happened. Isn't it really a confession when they catch you, and there's no other way out of it? And now he's confessing and saying, "Yeah, I did it. I'm ashamed of myself." Is that a confession, or is that just damage control?
Damage control.
Yeah.
Good PR, or just PR period.
But he didn't cry. I wanted him to cry. Maybe that would have.
I didn't even see his response yet.
I'm sorry. The devil made me do it.
Yeah, I mean, he actually he hit her, kicked her twice, and then dragged his girlfriend.
Wow.
It's so sad.
That's why they settled out of court.
Yeah.
He knew that was the first sign for me. But I just, I was thinking about it as I was, I did see the video, and I was saying, this is high profile. We're seeing this footage because it's Diddy. But it made me think about how so many low profile, people don't experience this every day.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's no one advocating for the, it just put that domestic violence situation that it's still so prevalent in our society. And it just made me more aware beyond the Diddies and, superstars of the world, thinking about those individuals who experience this. And I hope that for them, this is a sign that this isn't okay. And you too need to, turn in your abusers.
Sadly, the vast majority of women who are physically abused are abused by men who have promised to love and protect them. Sadly,
Right. But yeah, so sad to hear that. So sad. All right, guys. Well, hello to everyone that's coming and saying hello to us in the chat. Hey, Havis.
He gave us the Caribbean greeting. Good night, everyone. I love it.
Marlena, why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at my friend Havis. I'm just laughing.
Your Caribbean church. You pick up the phone at any time. It's good night.
They say good night.
The first time I heard that, I was walking into a service, and I was a couple of minutes late, and somebody stood up and said, "Good night, everyone." And I turned around, went back to my car, and went home.
I was about to say, I get confused. I think, is it over?
We know, Brother Havis. We know that.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, let's go ahead and transition into our topic of the evening. Now, we know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we didn't want May to end without touching this important topic in some regard. And, we were talking about a lot of things as it relates to mental health. And of course, the Upsetters is made of a large number of pastors.
I thought you could say made of a large number of people with mental health issues.
And so
they call pastors.
And oftentimes, as members are experiencing different challenges in life, and they have built these wonderful relationships with these spiritual leaders, it is often their instinct to go to our pastors for help. And sometimes we're recognizing that help may extend, or the request for help may extend beyond the capabilities of said pastor and or the professional capacity that they have to address these issues. And so I kind of wanted us to start off by looking at some of the definitions, because we hear pastors referred to as, oh, no, he's not my therapist, but he is my counselor. He is my, and he is this or that. And so we have all these labels. And so I kind of wanted to just clear up some of these definitions of these various mental health professionals. One, we have the counselor. And for those who are not familiar, counselors are usually dealing with a specific issue. They're more likely to offer some type of solution-focused support for that issue. Substance use counseling that may require a license, but not a master's degree. So this is, if we're going to put these in tiers, this is probably the lower tier of mental health professionals. Then we have the therapists, and they specialize in providing psychotherapy. A lot of them focus on marriage and family issues and helping people work through those different type of crises. And therapists must have a master's degree. This is, I've seen different definitions and requirements, but this is according to psychology.org. Then you have the psychologist. The psychologist typically has their doctorate in psychology, so they have a little bit more deeper knowledge, and they have their doctorate degree. So, and as we're going to these tiers, there's also has a lot to do with how much they charge as well. And then you have the psychiatrist, who in most states is the only one of these professionals able to prescribe medications for any of these mental illnesses or things that may come up. And so they are medical doctors who specialize in mental health specifically. So I just wanted us to kind of look at the difference between the titles of the mental health professional. And then we have the pastor, right? And I kind of wanted to ask you guys, as a pastor, as it relates to counseling, because that you guys do have a class or something. You have a class that's related to?
One class.
A pastoral counseling class.
All right.
One.
Which is an oxymoron.
Okay.
I agree with you, Keenan.
Yeah. So within that class, because I kind of wanted us to get people have an understanding, because a lot of people assume that because you're a pastor, you are also taught simultaneously to counsel every issue that may come up in a family life. So in that particular class, what was the focus from you all's perspective?
I know I had Dr. Swanson in seminary, and basically he just gave us like a overview of counseling, just a general overview of counseling.
Okay. In terms of
just touching it a little bit. That's what counseling is, but yeah, it was just a real general class. Really, it was a good class, but just very general.
From my experience, and we're talking to have 40 years plus of ministerial pastoral experience.
What?
Pastors are I started when I was 3, but from my experience, pastors are, and I don't say this to insult, are some of the worst counselors that I've ever seen. And that's not because they don't mean well. It's just that we are not trained to counsel. So we're not competent to counsel, by and large.
Yeah.
And it takes a different skill. So normally with pastors, you're taught you to go to for the questions. So you to go to, you answer the questions. But in counseling is a different skill. It's more listening. You're helping a person to come up with those questions on their own through active listening. So it's a completely different skill.
I think I would like to add to Latasha's definitions of counselors and all that. I read that even pastoral counseling, because you don't have a degree in counseling, it's even lower than counseling. So like at the same time, you know, I think you can, give a certain level of counseling to your members.
Spiritual
But
advice.
yes, spiritual, anything backed up by the Bible, whatever it is, but like anything above that goes into counseling, goes into therapist, goes into the rest of that explanations, then I think that's when you need to refer the person to someone else, because you
Amy,
can't handle everything.
Amy, not to look at it as tiers,
Yeah.
but pastoral and therapists are not even in the same category.
Yeah.
And so, and I get what you're saying, because that's how we see it. We kind of say, okay, this is a pastor and this is a therapist, and it's not even linear. And we don't do the same thing at all. I think that because most pastors have a type personality, we like to talk, we like to, get in the crowd, et cetera, et cetera. Like Keenan said, is just the opposite. I think the discipline in being a therapist is to be able to actively listen to what the person is saying. And sometimes you get people who come to you knowing that they should not ask you certain things, but they kind of say, that's my pastor, and it's a cheaper way of doing it. I don't have to have insurance. I don't have to, because it starts off good. It starts off, hey, I'm going through this, that, and the other. And really what we should do is go straight to the Allegheny East website and just be like, okay, are you in this area? Amy, what happened?
Referral. Yeah.
Amy, Amy, what happened, Amy?
Is that
Nothing.
serious?
Continue.
And you say, in order to keep yourself out of hot water legally across the board, refer.
That's right. And with that being said, just I've been taught from a legal perspective as a pastor. This was before I got a license as a therapist. Is that you are not doing counseling? You can't put pastor and counseling in the same. You're not offering that. Yeah. You're giving, as GP said, spiritual advice, pastoral advice, point them to the Word of God. But if something happens there for liability purposes, you cannot say you gave any counseling. That's not what you're doing at all. So the question is, should your pastor be a therapist? No, absolutely not.
And I get that. Well, I get that. Pastor Tyler, who's also a therapist. But Pat blew my bubble. He burst it the last time, because most of us would think we would go to school to learn, to be counselors, right? So that we can address our congregations, because many of them can't afford therapy. And so we think that we can go, and get that degree of counseling so that you're able to treat your people. Then he says it's a conflict of interest to even treat your people, right? You can't be their pastor and the therapist. So I can be somebody else's therapist, but I can't help my own people. So it's kind of challenging there.
There's a conflict of interest, so you can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I like to look at it like, okay, I think pastors can give marital, counseling, marital counseling based on what the Bible says about marriage.
Here you go.
What?
Come back, Callie.
Oh,
and
man.
Then,
Callie,
so
come back.
Some people have trauma from this.
If you are, I'm sorry. So if you are giving counseling or you are giving advice to someone, it should be backed up by what the Bible says. And, if that, like, I mean, if it turns into something else, then I think that's when you refer.
Well, okay, let's be more specific, guys, because we're talking in generalities, and let's look at some real situations that members come to pastors with that they think the pastor should help them with that maybe they should. So you mentioned couples or marriage. Say a spouse, one member, one part of the spouse comes to the pastor and says, I feel like my spouse is being unfaithful to me. What should I do? Does the
pastor no, I mean, really
say, okay,
I cannot tell you what to do.
Yeah, Latasha, though, I'm not. All you have to do, just don't call it counseling.
So it's semantics.
But
a lot of it, if you don't want to get sued, absolutely.
I mean, there is something called pastoral counseling. Okay. It is not therapy. Would you agree with that, Keenan?
No, but that's what I'm saying. In seminary, I know
advice.
Dr. Swanson, and I could be wrong. I know that was a long time ago. And the school I just went to, Region University, they said you got to call it pastoral advice. They said you can't call it pastoral counseling.
Well, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
No, I'm saying if you care about not getting snapped, you don't care.
No, I do. I mean, but I'm saying pastoral counseling is not therapy.
So yes, Tally, you're right about that. But here's what the problem is: we don't know when to stop.
Right.
So, for example, you're right about that, because immediately when Amy said that just now, Tally, I imagine what you would do, not me. I imagine what you would do. And I see you sitting there with them, listening to them. And I know you're a great listener. So you would listen to them. And then I see you praying with them. Or I see you, but I don't see, here's where the problem comes in. The problem, Tally's like, nah, the problem comes in when I start asking questions for them to tell some more of their background, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes pastors do that, not realizing that you've already crossed the line. And I will tell you why I know that, because I have done it. And now that I've gone to school for it, I've looked back and publicly apologized to everybody that I've done it to, because I've gone too far, at least 5-6 minutes into the conversation. That's me.
And much as you said, something I would do. Let me share with you. I mean, I am not a licensed counselor or therapist, and I'm very clear on that. Mm-hmm. I have studied. I've been a family educator, and I was licensed to do that through a group here. But I'm not a therapist, and I was clear on it. I had on retainer 3 therapists that I regularly
there we go
referred people, and I would tell people when they came in to see me that I'll talk with you, 2 or 3 times, and then I want you to see this therapist. I mean, 3 of them, and one of them is the president of Black Clinicians and Sexologists. Because I don't look, if one of my elders comes in and says, Pastor, I'm attracted to goats and I want to sleep with one, I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to be in the pulpit looking at him thinking that, tonight, he's going to be out with somebody going, that's bad. And I just saw David Defoe come in, who, look, if anybody knows, he knows.
Yeah.
But I would immediately, I would refer people out almost instantly at times. But pastoral counseling is addressing people from points of commonly held beliefs and perspectives.
Sure.
Not telling them what to do, not giving them, quote, advice, but allowing them to address the issue from the commonly held perspectives that we share. For example, somebody comes to the pastor working on Sabbath. I mean, as a pastoral counselor, I'll say no.
Tally, hold on a second. You're a little muffled, but
yeah.
Oh, your mic is going in and out.
Yeah.
And I got a problem because Kevin Jackson could see my curry goat right here. Let me just
and Tally, where did you learn how to do this, Tally?
Oh man, years of when I
trial and error.
No, I mean, I remember taking counseling classes when I was when I was at seminary. I remember taking some counseling classes because I wanted to be a pastoral counselor.
Mm.
But after that, I took my original training through a group called Lakeside Educational Network, where I became a licensed family and parenting educator.
Wow.
And that is where I really learned the tools of counseling and therapy. But I am not a therapist. I know that I have the tools. I mean, like, I have the tools to do carpentry, but don't let me build you a house.
Yeah. Yeah, and words are important. Words are important. So you when you finish that, you were called an educator.
I was an
You know,
educator. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm saying for the devil's in the doctrine. Those terms, words are important. So counseling, if you're not educated, if you don't have the license to do it, I'm taking be some serious ramifications for that. So if you haven't been trained to do it, just don't do it. For all pastors out there, just refer it out.
Yeah.
Be on the safe side to cover
I would,
yourself.
but
And
back to something Amy said, where she said the pastors could give marital counseling based on the Bible. Grab David Defoe's
Yeah.
comment. This is yeah, and let me tell you, Defoe is excellent at his craft. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes.
he is a qualified pastor. He knows how to preach, but he is also a therapist and a counselor who's qualified. He's excellent at it. I have called him and gotten free therapy, pretending that I was just his friend many times, and so he's excellent at it. But he says using the Bible, because the Bible is not a textbook. You know, for those who think that you can find any answer you need in the Bible, no, you can't, because the Bible culturally is biased in certain areas, and unless you rightly divide it, you will traumatize some people.
Yeah.
And
So why take that chance?
I see we also have John Coaxum on too. He's
Yep.
another therapist that's following us here too.
oh,
I
Coach,
just think,
therapist? I
yeah,
didn't know.
yeah, and
Therefore,
actually,
pastor. Yeah.
he's got some tools that you can even use that I told him about that he's making money on right now.
You told him, I'm sure. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I have to say, Tally, I'm not licensed yet. I'm not where Keenan is. I'm not licensed yet, but I think it's a good tool, Marlene, and not to have burst your bubble, but I want you to know that it's a good thing to have because automatically I ended up treating people different based on what I know now. And I kind of looked at pastoring before I knew this. I look at it as malpractice, spiritual malpractice. Dealing with some people. I've told people not to divorce. I've said to people just pray about it. I've told people don't eat this because you're going to die. There's a lot. Don't go to
Curry.
these. Not the curry goat.
Oh, okay.
Not the curry goat. But I'm saying when I say malpractice, I've told people not to go to certain schools and go to these schools. And it's a spiritual malpractice. You have to learn how to stay in your lane, and the therapist lane is very small. It's very short. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and I think a lot of times, and I saw Tiffany's comment, because this is just as much for pastors as it is for members to have an understanding of this line, because a lot of members really do view the pastor as their spiritual leader for life. So any issue that comes up, they feel like the pastor is the person that they should go to. And even if they go to their pastor and a therapist, sometimes the pastor's word will trump the therapist in their mind because of the level of respect and what they feel is anointing that the pastor may have. And I just feel like sometimes it can create a little bit of danger for both sides, because one, when you're being particularly vulnerable to the pastor about a lot of personal details about your life, like as Tyler was saying, giving that example of the goat, it puts the pastor in an awkward situation sometimes, because sometimes they can't unhear or unsee the things that have been shared. You want to, like, for instance, your therapist, when you go into therapy, I know there's certain laws and things they can't say. Everything is, confidential and things like that. You leave and you don't have to necessarily see your therapist until you come back to the next session. But with a pastor,
you see it right.
You see them, frequently in places around other people. And so it just, to me, I just kind of want people to understand why there is a conflict there that's not in the best interest of either side.
Yeah. And imagine the awkwardness that would create if you go to preach on sin.
There we go.
And that person like, oh, Pastor, you talking about me, Pastor. You just, I know you talking about me. I shared that with you in confidence. And you're like, what? What do you? So why even take that chance?
I want to ask you a question, Keenan, as a licensed therapist, because there are times as a pastor where if you know something, you do have to take an action. There are times where a pastor becomes a mandated reporter. For example, somebody comes to you and if one of your members comes to you, Keenan, and says, "Don't tell anybody," but I had sex with a teenager yesterday, and I repented, and the Lord has forgiven me, and I'm so sorry, but I just need you to pray for me about it. As a pastor, am I mandated to then report that to the authorities?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And this is the reason why you don't want to be a pastor therapist, because there's so many things that you could be doing as a pastor and end up losing your license for something small. So you don't want that to happen at all. But you are a mandated reporter even without therapy. Just as a pastor, you still have to say something.
Yeah, self-harm, suicide, all of those things are things where you definitely need to refer them to someone more. We can't pray everything out in the pastor study, I guess, is and sometimes we don't know.
Laid a hand, hick 'em a saw.
So yeah.
But here's one I just want to. Is this right or wrong? Am I in the right place on this? Somebody comes to you. I remember somebody saying that Elder so-and-so is having an affair. All right. If I know he's having an affair, I've got to take some kind of action. They come and I say, listen, if you tell me this, I've got to take action. If you're saying that you want to the wife, I said, if you're saying that you want help with some marital issues, I can refer you to a therapist and you guys can work it out. But if you tell me, I've got to take some action. Was I being derelict in my duty, Keenan, on that one?
No, I would say this. You two have not agreed to enter into a counseling relationship.
Right.
Okay.
So that wouldn't apply to that situation.
Okay.
Now, if the person came and say, I need counseling, and you say, yes, I can give you counseling, now you have entered into that relationship, and that's when it gets a little weird.
Okay.
So, Tally, you feel like if someone comes to you with an affair or something like that, you have to act on it as a pastor?
If I'm the pastor of the church, and it's according to who it is, of course. If, for example, let's say you have an elder in the church who says he's having an affair with another member, I think I'm, to maintain and protect the flock, I may have to act on it.
Sure.
In some way. But then in other ways, you want to say, listen, I don't. My thing is to never reveal about people because it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, true.
It doesn't help anybody, and
true.
So. And look, I'm not shocked when somebody says, look, I went through the choir with the upraised whip, and I went through the whole soprano section, Pastor. Look, okay, all right. Now what are we going to do from this point forward? I'm not trying to, I don't believe in the investigative judgment where you blot out names and
sure.
try to get rid of people. I'm not here to try to disenfranchise and kick people out.
So I think that when we hear the word act, and I think that's what John Coxon was saying, when we hear the word act, immediately our mind says disfellowshipping or some type of discipline or something of that.
I'm looking at the first comment.
Yeah. So I think that's our main thing, and you don't have to go to that extreme as far as acting is concerned.
Now, Havis just said you asked him or her to resign. Why? Didn't nobody ask David to resign?
You Defoe or
no? Havis said that.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because what if that's a good question, Havis, and it's for everybody. So let's just say if an elder comes to you, confides in you, not a counselor, say, hey man, I messed up. I went out to Vegas and I got a little crazy. It'll never happen again. What are you supposed to do then? Say, okay, well, hey, I got to tell your wife you need to resign. Is that what you're supposed to do? No, that's a question. I'm asking you, what would y'all do?
No, no.
I mean, when Peter stood up and Jesus' life was on the line, and Peter said, "Well, I don't know the brother." I mean, that is an offense that is as crimson as it gets. When Jesus came back, he didn't say, "Well, Peter, you're gonna have to resign." I mean, you go from where you are, and the only time a person needs to resign is when they have committed themselves to actions or principles and practices that betray the sanctity of the fellowship. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but.
So somebody mentioned premarital counseling, as I know a lot of pastors do premarital counseling. Is that a different?
We just call it premarital spiritual advice.
That's common. I mean, it's common for pastors to give premarital counseling. So you can't say I'll help you before, but once you get in there, hands off. So is premarital counseling even something that pastors should be doing?
Well, I'll answer, because before I got married, my first 6 years in pastoral ministry, I was a single pastor, but I did attain a certification with Prepare and Enrich to do premarital counseling. So I received training.
Certification.
And so I was a certified premarital educator.
I always knew you were certifiable.
So, if I didn't have that certification, I wouldn't do it. But because I was trained, I felt comfortable doing it, because you're just, facilitating questions, helping them to think and process their decision. And so I'll let someone else chime in, but I think it's okay for a single pastor.
I see Tiffany's point. Tiffany making some points. If you're not married, look, I'm not married.
What do you think, Tiffany? I would like to know what does she think.
I actually think that, there's a lot of therapists. They're licensed. I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of counselors and therapists out there that are not married and are giving marriage advice. Mm-hmm. There is, I know what she's trying to say with, a pastor not having a license and he's not really a counselor. Can he give, marriage advice if he's not? But I agree with what GP said. Like, if you have attained those skills, I think, and
Amy, I have 3 great therapists. They were some of the greatest therapists actually in the state of Maryland for marriage and family, and they're all divorced.
Look,
whoa.
That's so good.
So I just want to say this.
And what does that say?
What?
As a pastor, right? Again, with the marriage advice, you're just pointing them to the Bible. So you can give them marriage advice by pointing them to the Bible.
You're talking about pastors.
I don't even know if we should call it advice, honestly.
Well, spiritual advice, that's a better technical term, because again, you enter into a counseling relationship, you put yourself, there's a lot of liability there. Anything can happen. So just call it, for all the pastors out there listening, it's 2024. Just call it, you're giving them spiritual, marital coaching advice, but just don't use counseling. Just don't use it.
I'm kind of leaning towards what John is saying. Not to take anything away from you guys, but I just feel like maybe should we be going to you for advice at all? Or
if you want advice, go to your friends.
And that's
Whatever you want to call it, just don't call it counseling.
I don't know if calling it advice. I mean,
Spiritual coaching.
I get what you're saying, Keenan, the liabilities and everything. But I feel like with advice, it has like a stronger like connotation there. Like it's like, oh, you're giving this advice and you're and really what therapists do or counselors do, they don't give advice. They let you come up with your own advice. And I think that that's more of what pastors should be doing, and using those. And that's why I said going back to giving marriage counseling, I mean more of like, okay, this is what the Bible says, you will have to continue, doing. I mean, you have to find another way of getting more advice in that sense, if the Bible doesn't match up with what you're saying. I don't know. That's kind of where
Amy, I just want to say.
Okay, Tyler.
Go ahead, Kenny.
I'm simply saying, my bad. I just want to be clarify. Simply saying is this: to cover yourself. Just you call it whatever you want to call it.
No, Keenan, I don't like that.
Don't call it counseling.
Don't pretty it up with a name, but you're still doing the thing.
Just refer it out.
Yes,
I just think we need to have a specific definition of what pastoral counseling entails. Like if that's what it is, like if pastoral counseling and everything that comes with it, if that's what it is, then people need to know that so that they can be like, okay.
I think we should do that.
So in the state of Virginia, I can't speak right. The state of Virginia, a pastor, unless he's licensed, been educated, he cannot give.
It's not in every state. And
that's what I'm saying. So in Virginia, you giving coaching, but it's not counseling. If you're not educated.
Defoe just gave some great counsel, because the purpose of counseling or therapy is to elevate and generate awareness to help people to become mindful of those things that are behind the scenes or within them that are pulling strings and motivating them, pushing them, the needs that are hidden there. And the idea is not to tell you what to do, but it is to create the awareness and then to offer tools and avenues for address or redress. And that's not always easy to do. I'd always call it premarital consultation. And if in a consultation, someone comes up with something, I would say, this is when I refer them to Dr. James Wadley, or I'd refer them to, Dr. Ann Chastain, or I'd refer them. I had 3, and I must have referred 40 people in the 6 years that I was pastoring West Church. I must have referred at least 40 people.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Sometimes I would pay for myself, but I want to explode the myth where
no, Tally, you just hold on. You can't skip what you just said, because I've done the same thing. Sometimes you pay for it yourself.
I pay for it myself.
In the church, you can have a coffer or something where you can say, okay, I cannot handle that, but I'm going to pay for 6 phases or whichever for you, so that you can go ahead and do whichever. And I think that's where the ministry side of it comes in. Tally, you kind of said it really fast. But I think if you want a pastor should have that ability to say, you guys are in trouble, or forget you guys are in trouble. Every time we think about counseling, we always think of a man and a woman or something of that nature. They got bigger problems than that. Tally, guys, I was at a hospital bed. They called me to the bedside for me to make the decision to pull the plug.
Wow.
What, you pull it? Because I'm telling you, the next time I'm around you, I'm gonna stay away from every electric socket that I see.
And see, these are the things that the members need to be educated on. Like, but you can't be asking your pastor to do these things.
I repent.
and I wanted, while he's getting his laugh out, I wanted to go back to not just having the coffer, but you were prepared. You had mental health professionals already lined up. And I think that's something that pastors should have your people lined up. David, Dr.
You
Defoe
can
has done a
refer.
good job of outlining professionals in every area of our conference. So all of our pastors, you have a resource where someone comes to you. You don't have to not know where to turn. You have it ready. So when it comes
And
up,
it's online, isn't it, Pat?
yes,
I mean, Defoe
yeah,
has pulled together, and let me tell you,
And what I'm
it wasn't
sorry.
because I was trying to do ministry; it's because I was trying to do self-preservation.
That's right.
I don't want to do therapeutic sessions.
That's right.
The reason I sometimes would pay is because it preserved me. I could say, listen, I want you to go see Dr. So-and-so. And that was an hour and a half out of, of my life that I could reclaim because I didn't have to do that therapeutic thing with that person. But just to explode the myth that Tiffany had said, if a person, is single or bad marriage, how can they advise somebody else? I want you to take that same question and bring it to a male OBGYN. Say, well, you ain't had no babies. So, because they never had a baby, they can't counsel, advise, or treat somebody who's having one.
Well, yeah, I don't, I do believe that you can get, you don't always have to have gone through something to be able to share some knowledge about that thing based on research or based on, other things. But as someone else said, there's a difference between, from my perspective, and sharing, information. But there was something else I wanted to.
While you're going there, Latasha, I just want to say this is big because there was a time some years ago where the church didn't even talk about mental health. So the fact that we having this conversation is just really awesome. We have to keep this discussion going. And I want to tell everybody, I recommend everybody go see a therapist.
Yeah.
Just like you get an annual checkup, just go talk to somebody. And there's so many therapists out there. If you don't like that one, go to another, because we know people of color. And Pat, you could jump in. Dave Defoe, John, people of color, they normally don't stick with a therapist. They go a few times, and as soon as about to touch something, they nope, I'm out, I'm leaving. But stick with it. It definitely is beneficial.
Well, Keenan, what also happens when they can't afford you guys? Because it comes with a cost.
It is expensive.
You may not be able. What's your recommendation? Any pro bono people out there?
Yeah, so Dr. David Defoe has a saying. If you could put that in the chat when it comes to that, he's probably going to say it a different way when it comes to that. But however, there is a lot of therapists has a sliding scale.
Right.
So they try to work with you.
Right.
It's still expensive.
Yeah. And there's online.
Therapists.
There's a lot of online therapists nowadays too that are making it even more affordable for people to get therapy.
But Amy, you can't go to just anybody. You can't. People.
That's true, but you can switch. So I'm saying like, I have had I used to what is it? One of those online ones, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I've used those online therapy before, and they actually ask you questions like, afterwards, like when you get the amount, and they say like, are you able to afford this? Do you work? Are you a student? That kind of thing. And they kind of try to work with you. And I do think that there are other therapists that do the same thing, So it is possible if you can spend $300 to go to the gym or anything like that, like you can put aside some for your mental health as well. I think
if you're spending $300 on a therapist, I got some pastoral counseling to tell you. Find another therapist. But there.
I'm just saying, like, that's
a couple of ladies have said things online that I really.
There's a whole lot in there.
Yeah, one of our sisters said something about being hurt, and I just want to say that if anybody's triggered by what we're saying, and
Yes.
They perceive that they're being injured. I apologize for that.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm sorry for any experience that you might have. I don't know you or your experience, but
Right.
I assure you we don't take lightly the pain that you feel.
Definitely not.
But then there's another one. Joan Erica said that she said, you men, the men get away with a lot in the church. And I hear that quite a bit. And that's true. I just want to caution women to not give away their power, because typically when men are doing things in the church, they can only do it with the assistance of at least two women. And so if a guy is doing something in the church, somewhere there's a woman who might be involved as well. And women, you have the power to address that.
Yeah, I gotta go.
you know, and so when we say the man did this, the man did that, as though women have no power or authority over their own lives, I want to restore that power and say you can address that. You can address it with the person who may offend you, or you
Yeah.
can address it with the authorities within the church. But you don't embrace victimhood. Is all I want to say.
Sure. Tally, let me go to Tiff right here when she says, right. I think it's okay to value someone's perspective, but just know your pastor is not always equipped to help or give advice on every scenario. It's also a cultural thing. Depending on where you are, there's a culture that says my pastor knows everything, even if you say I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to come to the realization is that the pastoral work has changed over the past 20 years. And let's just say this, and I've experienced this, the pastoral business have changed over the past 10 years, definitely for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's not talk about the pandemic. The pastoral work has definitely changed. It is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay for a pastor to say, I don't know how to change your brakes. It's okay for a pastor to say, no, I'm serious about that. I don't know which auto mechanic for you to take your car to. It's okay to say that. And I think that we used to have the pressure of having all the answers. And we don't have all the answers, especially when it comes to mental health, because you can screw up the person even more than what it is that they're asking for. It's a dangerous game to give advice where you should not forget advice. It's a dangerous game to counsel if you know nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can counsel you on your breaks, and then next week I can counsel your family on your funeral preparation.
Yeah, get paid for that.
Yeah, in the Spanish
you don't want
culture,
my breaks counseling.
in the Spanish culture, in the Korean culture, pastors have told me, especially when they migrate here, from different countries, they look at the pastor to do everything. Take them to the DMV, take them to the immigration office. Like they look like they are it. So some cultures, they do have that. They still have that dare that the pastor is the go-to for everything.
And I guess I would just want to add with what Kenny was saying. I feel like a lot of people should realize that pastors don't just have you to talk to. They also have other people and they have other things to do. So, just being more appreciative of what, the pastor does, I think might go a long way.
Yeah. Like monopolizing their time with, what you're dealing with. A lot of times people will feel like this is my pastor. Every time I'm going through something, I'm going to call the pastor because I need him or her to hear this or be there. Like we literally have the pastor on call, like he or she is our personal advisor. And I think that is really dangerous. That's not realistic in terms of a pastor or anyone's capacity, really, to be able to be on call like that. But I also go ahead.
The key word here is dual relationship. No matter how you look at it across the board, we have to stay away from dual relationships. And that comes to, thanks Defoe, by the way.
Defoe reads my mind too much,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, when you take the title of being the under shepherd to Christ, and when you take on that role, people ought to look up to you. People ought to esteem you highly. People should come to you if they don't know. I mean, but what like what Defoe is saying, know your limitations.
That's it.
Know where your lane is, and
That's it.
tell when people come and say, Pastor, I have X, Y, and Z problem. I mean, know that you are not qualified to
That's
help
it.
them therapeutically address the issue and talk with them and hear their pain and their anguish, pray with them, and say, listen, I think you should see somebody, and then help direct them. And look, I've discovered that at times when people are seeing a therapist, they still need pastoral interaction.
Sure, sure.
They may need to be
And
strengthened.
encouragement. And
They need
encouragement, Tally.
encouragement,
Very
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But just know your
Yeah.
limitations and know where
Yeah.
what lane you're in.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not playing
That's
the
it.
piano at
Pastoral
church.
encouragement. That's what it is, Keenan.
Sound encouraged.
I'm not playing. Yep, I'm not playing the piano at church. I'm not. I'm not going to the baby room. I'm not doing all that. You know what your role is. Play your role and stay where you got it, where you have to be. Because honestly and truly, if you tell your church this is not what I'm not doing, after a while they'll understand it's not going to happen. And Keenan, I can't give you my members. That we're too close in proximity as far as it's concerned. So we can't even. We should not. I'm not can't. We should not even. I should not even refer them to Keenan.
That's right.
It should even be done that way. There's so many different therapists that's out there that we can send them to. Just stay away from the the duality of it. And to also say, Keenan, give me $10 if I give you
A referral.
a referral. It's kind of
Referral.
it's kind of Staten Island, not Staten Island. It's kind of Coney Islandish, Keenan.
Well,
As long as they're not Adventists.
a large part of our problem is the perfectionistic tendency
The pastor.
Say the hero complex. Yeah.
where no, I mean specifically Adventism. I mean, we are a group of people who believe that at the end of time, it's going to be a group of us who are going to be perfect. They call it the 144,000. They ain't going to make no mistakes because if they do, they're going to instantly go to hell. I mean,
Bad theology.
I think it is.
What, Keenan?
I said it's terrible theology.
That's not what you said. You said it's what theology in the beginning? It's bad theology?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what he said.
but
Hold on,
when
let me
people think that when
write
we
that
cut
down.
people off and tell them that the world is bad and we have quote a corner on the market of truth, people think, well, I can't go to other people. I can't talk to a Baptist therapist or an atheist therapist.
They're the best ones.
What, the atheist therapist? I've known some.
Let's put our disclaimer in right now. This is not advice.
And this is definitely not therapy.
Pat sends his members to a therapist.
Encouragement.
We're not
chicken bones and feathers.
I got a problem with Keenan, who don't believe in the 144,000.
Wait, I didn't say I didn't believe in them.
Listen, I'm the pastor, and I go by what I heard.
What did you get?
I don't know. Whatever it is, don't sue me.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
There is a shift. I know we talked about the shift, and Gloria's was saying she thinks that the boomers were the last group to look at the pastors as the be all and know all. That there's more and more are getting, acclimated to the fact that my pastor cannot be everything to me. Are you guys seeing are you seeing a shift? I guess is my question.
It's some in that next generation under the boomers too. Some of them.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them. I agree, Marlene.
Yeah. So we have to help bring.
Don't forget the Gen Xers are also they're also rigid. They follow really tight behind the boomers. So we still have to be able to open up our minds to new things.
Well, I knew that I wasn't a therapist after I spent an hour and a half consulting with somebody, and I couldn't ask them for $150 for the session.
That's when you knew. Huh?
I knew then I wasn't a therapist.
Tally, call it coaching. You could do it. Just call it coaching.
No, I don't want. That was scary to me when Keenan was saying that, because I don't want people to still do it, but just call it something else. Like, don't go down that area if you're not skilled to do so.
And may I say this? I'm quiet because there's a lot of professionals on the line tonight, and I want to
Go get them.
Learn
Get
from
them,
you
Marlene.
guys.
Amy said, "Say what you want to say."
That's right.
Listen, but no, I'm being very serious right now because you read the chat. There's a lot of hurting people from pastors where we made a lot of mistakes. And when I'm listening to the pain of people, and I don't want them to think that all pastors are like that, because that's not true. But I know that we put people in a place where they don't trust us, and we haven't been confidential. And I want to personally say that I'm sorry that you have experienced such a thing, because God did not call us to do that. And so just know that that's not everyone. It's like you could go to a bad doctor, or you could go to a bad therapist, but and Talia said this already too, and Pat, that we're sorry for your experience, because this conversation was meant to be something else, but I'm seeing that a lot of pain is coming out of this therapy session. And so I just want we'll be praying for you guys so that you won't be under.
Wait, did she?
Oh, Marlena froze.
Oh, I thought she was thinking.
Yeah, I thought she was.
Well, I want to say this though, because I see some comments in there, and in in all seriousness, as Marlena said, Pastor Marlena said, just the hurt. There's a lot of church hurt just overall, and please, if you are hurt and the trust has been broken, go talk to somebody. Go talk to a professional. And I'm sorry too. Any pastors did any wrong, so all of us are. I'm sure we all have heard tales of pastors doing this and doing that, and it's really saddening. But let's pray for everybody on here. Just please go talk to somebody. We all do, myself included.
And something, and I'd like Paige to know this also. Sometimes it's our uncomfortableness that makes us laugh or smile together. It is an uncomfortable thing to discuss, and sometimes we make light because of the way we feel, or even some of us that have been hurt. You have a lot of pastors who have been hurt growing up, why they decide to be pastors.
True.
You have a lot of therapists who become therapists because of things that they have gone through or what we have gone through. So I say it to you, Paige, because I get it, and yes, we've all, Tally, Marlena, Keenan, we all said we're sorry. And the truth is that because we know and because we understand, don't take our sorry to just be sorry. We really feel this because we go through this almost every weekend. This is not something that's like chopped up and every now and then it comes around. We deal with this every weekend. So if you will, even Paige, I'll hit you up online and for prayer, just to pray with you. It's not a matter of trusting, because you don't trust pastors more than you trust God.
Yeah, and I just want to say something, because I don't want people to misinterpret our format. Upset Podcast is one of those. It's called Upset because we want to deal with issues that are upsetting, and we take them very seriously, which is one of the reasons why we're having this conversation. Right. But we also try to do it in such a way where it can be received, and that we take somewhat of not the seriousness away, but we make it okay and make people more comfortable talking about it. Because one of the things we're realizing in our church is we don't talk about the painful things. Right. And sometimes in doing it in a format like this, we're able to get these things out. So it's not, when we laugh and we jest, that's just the banter that we have with one another, but it has nothing to do with how serious we take a conversation like this. And one of the things we want people to understand on both sides of this, and one of the reasons we are making this point, is because we recognize a lot of hurt that has happened because certain boundaries were not established and because certain things didn't go as planned. And so we want to make sure that we're sharing with everyone, this is why this is not a good idea. This is why this shouldn't happen, because it's been mishandled in the past. There is this hurt that we're dealing with, and we don't want to see that perpetuated beyond today as much as possible. And so we want you guys to take this conversation and share it with someone else, because the more awareness we bring to it, the better we can do at addressing it and taking back some of that hurt, or helping heal some of the hurt that has happened. I just wanted to say that, but I do want to thank everybody that's in the chat commenting. I mean, we're reading all of them, and every perspective is important to us. And I just wanted to validate everyone who is in the chat, everyone who has something to say, because we all understand everyone is coming from their experience. But just thank you. I just wanted to say that, because I never want anyone to think that we're not taking what we're doing seriously here.
And we resonate with the pain that others feel. And I say this guardedly. However, I will not apologize for my own joy. I mean, in the midst of a world of pain and grief, I bring a level of joy that the world did not give to me, nor can it take away. And so I can't apologize for it, but I do want to be sensitive to people who, in their pain, might feel that my joy offends them. I get that,
yeah,
but I can't remove that, because it is a part of who I am.
Got it.
With that being said, no. But I just want to, I just want to say, because somebody put something in the chat. I think that every pastor, right, needs to go to at least 4 sessions of therapy. It should almost be, well, not mandatory, because you can't force nobody. But it should be highly advised to go to therapy at least once a quarter.
Once a quarter?
Yeah.
Yeah,
at least four times a year, just 4 times at minimum.
You'd be surprised how happy the weight that would be lifted off your shoulder, pastors, if you just go to therapy. I know that our conference pays a certain percentage, a huge percentage, for us to go. If I'm correct, for pastors, I think it's like 60% of it. I think so. I'm not sure
75.
What is it. 75. And I use it. It's imperative, and it just takes a whole lot off of your shoulders. Take it off of your family's shoulders. Take it off of your membership. You say that what, Amy?
No, this is David. He said it. So if he said it, it's
then
correct.
He's right. 75.
In 1994, my life went off the rails. I mean, I'd been involved in 4 straight building programs. My marriage was coming apart at the seams. I could no longer get along with the administration of the conference. And a friend of mine, who was one of the best therapists in the country, I don't know if any of you have heard the name Dr. Robin Smith. She appears on the Oprah Winfrey Network. She has written several books. She is one of the best therapists in the country. I called her one night and said, and by this time I was separated. And I said to Robin, I said, look, I want to see you. And she said, you want to date me? She said, she said, because if I said, no, I mean, I want to see you. I need to see you. And she said, you want me to be your therapist? She said, because if I'm your therapist, we can't be friends anymore. I said, look, I don't need no more friends. I got friends. I said, what I need is to not be crazy. And she referred me to another therapist. And I remember the sense of shame and embarrassment, Keenan and Pat and GP, when I walked into that therapist's office. I felt like I had failed everything, that I needed a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remembered the second time I went, I was racing to get there because I needed it. And it was the best thing I ever did for myself. And I regularly take advantage of therapy. I have friends. One of my good friends was the in-house therapist for Montel Williams and for Sally Jesse Raphael. She was extraordinary. And after I would call and we'd talk sometimes. She said, I know that this was a therapy session that you ain't gonna pay for, but I need it and still need it. And I agree with Keenan. Pastors, it ought to be mandated that they go to therapy. Mm-hmm. It ought to be mandated,
Yeah.
Other than that, we're gonna just end up chock full of nuts.
Oh, mercy. But I wanted to go back to a suggestion Gloria made, because I think David was responding to this when he said we would work on that. And she was saying that we need a church hurt reparations retreat at an ocean, run by therapists and kind praying people need to heal for real. And I actually think that's an awesome suggestion. And
let's make it happen. 2025, Virginia Beach.
That's what you were saying you would work on.
Yeah, no, y'all need no ocean.
Just makes
Florida
better, like
no ocean.
environment. No, but honestly, but yeah, I appreciate all of you for and thank you all for being vulnerable. Thank you guys for sharing on experiences too, because that's what helps normalize things for other people. And I think that's very important. So I guess are we past our time? Oh, I'm probably going to freeze in about 5 seconds. So I do want to thank everybody for engaging in this conversation. I hope that we helped a little bit with defining that blurred line of, I always say when in doubt, do without. So, if it's not something that you are clear about, refer it out. I would say to our pastors, I think we need to steer away from that therapy side of helping our members and just being able to help them find the help they need as opposed to engaging it ourselves or yourselves.
I invite everybody to call David Defoe. His number is 301.
And he'll do it for free, right? He'll do it for free.
For the conference, you don't have to pay anything.
But we do want to reference our website again. Visit aec.org/relationship-men, and I guess I'll put it in the chat. Because there is a resource there for anyone. It's not just for pastors. It's for anyone who is looking for a mental health professional in their area. These are people that have been vetted by our relationship ministries department. They're not all Adventists, right, David? I know some people say they don't, so these are people that have been vetted that can provide you with the help that you need. And we want you to take advantage of it. And so please make sure you do that.
That's David Defoe. Therapists are us.
Yeah. His number is 301-821.
You know what?
7777.
It keeps getting longer.
I know, right? But yeah, I'm just gonna put this in the chat for everyone to be able to see.
Well, thanks for this. This was good.
Yeah.
This was good.
Yeah, David should have been a guest tonight.
He should have.
Yeah, but he's too busy.
We could have added him on. It's not too late. I'm just kidding.
He doesn't have a lot to do.
Yeah.
He's seeing somebody right now. No.
For what it looked like, he may be Havis.
That is fun.
Oh, you guys are the best. But no, honestly, thank you guys for having this conversation with us tonight.
Look at Dave.
The new slogan is, if you've been hurt before, you need to call David Defoe.
Poor David. Maybe we don't want him to run from the chat now.
Yeah.
But no.
He said he's going to put my number on every public restroom stall.
Oh my goodness. This is why. But no, honestly, thank you, everyone. And David will be joining us on AC Today Reports this Thursday, so check that out. He'll be sharing some of that great advice about mental health. So Thursday evening, 7 p.m., you can check him out at that time. All right, guys.
Before everybody goes, just want to wish everybody a happy Pentecost Sunday. This is the weekend set aside to celebrate Pentecost. 50 days, after the resurrection, after Easter Sunday, the Spirit fell upon the church, bringing people together. I hope that we still believe in the Spirit and that we cherish and nurture the opportunity to be ministered to by the Spirit.
Amen.
Do that every day, then, Tally.
I hope so.
Tally Pentecost. Okay.
Yeah. Which brings me, and speaking of bringing people together, I just got a reminder. As you guys know, Allegheny East Conference is in the process of selecting a new president, and the executive committee has voted for our conference to engage in a season of prayer beginning tomorrow, May 20th, and going through June the 23rd, every day at noon. And so we're asking everyone to join the conference in praying for this important decisions that will be made next month. So just a reminder to make sure that you're praying daily at noon. We invite you to be a part of that.
Excellent.
All right, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining us for another great discussion. And of course, we'll be back here, same time, same place. Because if it's Sunday,
It's time for a new slogan.
I know. I was going to say,
I was about to say,
we did
we
get
got
some,
feedback not to say that anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
Totally. Until we get something, which is not really our slogan. It's just something I like to say at the end, but we can come up with something better. I get it. It's okay. But until then, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.
Yes. Hello, Dr. Defoe.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.
Peace, y'all.
All right. Take care, everybody.